Hello friends, welcome back to the channel Writing Buddha. So today we are going to talk about this book named Death and Inside Story written by Sadhguru. So first, talking about Sadhguru, I would say that he is a spiritual guru based in India, Coimbatore. So he has a very big Isha Yoga center, and all of us must have seen that Adi Yogi statue or idol that he has built there. So his whole effort has been till now to make people adapt yoga and meditation in their life and live as blissfully as possible. And as I have been following him or his videos, his YouTube channel since 2015, there are many videos that I have seen, and every time anyone asked him about death or say reincarnation or past lives or memory after death, he would just shun those questions and move on to the next question and laugh about it. So I always thought that Sadhguru did not believe in all these concepts and all. So that is why when this book came, it was a very big surprise for me, and I picked it up. It was an ebook, so that is why I don't have books in my hand. So I went through the ebook. So when we think about the death as a subject, how much a person can speak about it, how much can he write about it? Maximum 40-50 pages is what we think, but this book is of around 375 pages. So yes, that is how much knowledge or information about death that Sadhguru has given in this book. So because Sadhguru was also aware somewhere that the topic gets very depressive or say very heavy or very negative at times, so he used his humorous tone and his awakening tone that he uses while he speaks, so it keeps the book light and you are able to go through these 375 pages very easily without getting overwhelmed at times. It happens at in between, but then it does not affect you the way it could have in case he would have written it very deeply or would have gone very depth and would not have taken the subject very lightly in his writing tone, in his narration. So that is a very good aspect about this book, first of all. Secondly, I would say that there are many technical concepts that Sadhguru has discussed in the first half of the book itself. So the concepts such as different types of karmas, koshas, bodies, vayus, chakras. So, and when a person dies, each of these concepts have different stages. So when a body goes towards death, it is in one of the stages of each of these factors. So how this affects a person's death, how his soul and energy reacts after the death, and how we can treat all of those things is everything has been discussed very widely and very deeply. So these informations are a very new experience for us as a reader. So I had lots of notes and I noted all of these because they were really interesting topic, because we think that death is just a moment thing, but after reading all of this we understand that there is a lot of things that needs to go into a process to ensure that a person dies properly, and it is not just another death which becomes struggling for the soul and energies of the person that was living in that body till now. Sadhguru also does not shy away from talking on topics such as reincarnations, rebirths, samadhi, mahasamadhi, or say ghost spirits, then what happens after death, how it can affect a person's family, person's belongings, and he also talks about what happens when a person is murdered brutally or a person commits suicide. So does everything becomes easy for a person after he commits suicide, after taking so much stress, or it becomes more problematic for his souls and energy after he commits suicide? So all of that is very vastly discussed in this book, and that's where it's become very informative. Then Sadhguru also talks about several associates that he had, where people died on their will. Also about his wife, she also did something like that as per his claims in the book. So that is all discussed very deeply. Sadhguru also talks about how to identify if a person had a good death or not. So we generally, our tendency is that we think when a person is sleeping and he is dead by morning and he was, so we think that is a very good death if someone dies like that. But Sadhguru tells us that it is not so, and as I spoke about those concepts, there is some technical aspects to it. So he talks about that. He also talks about how energies can be handled even after someone's death, how we can control it even now when we are living, and we can ensure that after dying we do not get into much trouble with our soul and energies. Sadhguru also talks about the rituals that needs to be performed after one dies, and how the rituals also differ with respect to how a person died at the point of leaving his body. Then reading all of this is very fascinating and knowledgeable, but sometimes it does get heavy. And then Sadhguru also talks vastly about himself, about his past lives, because he has many followers, so he must be wanting to make them understand what was his role before this life. So he talks about his past lives, and he also talks about if he would be again coming on the earth or not, and how much is he going to live this time that he is on this earth. So I don't agree much with all of this, but again, because before I got into spirituality and meditation, I did not believe all of this, that there would be a phase when we sit with our eyes closed and we would find that we are unable to feel our mind and body. Now there are stages when I feel so I understand that okay, all of that was truth. This also might be truth, but till now maybe I'm not that spiritually awakened to accept that. So that is one problem that I regularly faced while reading. Second, now talking about the drawbacks of the book, because if Sadhguru has written this book very technically and in his tone, now what happens is, if you have not been following him, or if you have not read other books written by Sadhguru, you might feel reading this one very, very difficult, or you might not understand anything. So please ensure that you are little bit a spiritual person before picking this book. You know how to meditate, you are aware about all those concepts, only then go for reading this book. Don't get excited and directly jump into it, because it might not be of any use to you. Secondly, I felt that there are many concepts and rituals where Sadhguru just speaks from an eagle view and give references of Isha Yoga Center or one of the Isha Yoga programs. Now this is generally to brand himself and market his products that they are selling in form of yoga programs and all of that. I feel that if you are a spiritual guru, you should not do that. You should either explain everything or say that this is something that cannot be talked about. In case you meet me, or in case you meet any other spiritual gurus, you can discuss with them, but he only talks about his Isha Yoga centers and programs. That is something that I felt too much branding in this book. Third, I would say that because we have still not heard, or our media has not covered extensively, a person dying by his own will, and we have seen that getting happen in front of us or around us. So when something like that is discussed, I expect author to give references so that we can go and understand, okay, something like that really happened, or there is a news about this, or there is a person about whom on Wikipedia it has been written that he died by will and there were people around him. So at least that becomes little factual as for the readers to understand it. So also, as I told, that I do not agree much about Sadhguru's own past lives that he has discussed, because there are no references of the same. Sadhguru should have given articles or things like that, see, this is the person that has been talked about 100 years back and this was me. So that is something that again I disagreed with. But overall, talking about this book, I would say it is a very different experience reading this book. It is basically like experiencing death before dying. So it is very, very different, and you must have heard many people talk about the book named Autobiography of a Yogi. So I could not complete it when I started it some 3-4 years back, because I was not that spiritually awakened and it was very difficult for me to go through that book. But reading that book and reading this book, I felt a similar kind of vibes. So if you have read that book, or if you are a very big fan of Autobiography of a Yogi book, you can definitely go for this book and you will find similar vibes and similar energies while reading this. So yeah, overall this is a very informative book and you would love to read it. I give it 4.5 stars out of 5, and yeah, please take in mind whatever I have told. So thanks a lot, and I hope you get a chance to read this book as soon as possible. We will meet in the next video. Thanks a lot.